Hey Heidi,
Hello again.
how are you?
I'm good. It's Mondays are the longest days, but it's good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
feeling that today too.
really super sunny here today. It was nice.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome. Hi Jen, hi Waru.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Let's see if we get Rich to show up. He's supposed to be here. Well, wait maybe just one more minute before we get started. You're by yourself this time, Jen.
I am, and I might turn off my video because I am working. But I
You're
wanted
good.
to have things soak
Yeah.
in. But
Okay,
if
you're
I have
good.
comments, I'll jump back on. I'm on the computer.
Okay.
And Jake, he might join us. He's not home from work yet.
Okay, cool. That's great. Oh, okay. Let's just wait just a little bit longer, see if we get anyone else or maybe at least Rich. Okay. I'll get my Okay, we're gonna go. Oh, there he is, now that I say that. Okay.
Smiling like usual, huh?
Rich, you made it.
Hey, I couldn't find my freaking link. I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Darn it, we need those little reminders that Jack had set up a while ago. That would be
What?
so nice.
You know, it's interesting. When I get this thing from Elevate, it says Women's Expo on it. It's so freaking weird. So I got to go hunt it down.
What?
I don't know. It's weird.
Is it something in the link that's
I don't
wrong?
know. But as I was done, it always says Women's Expo, and it's from Elevate. I don't know why.
You'll have to show me that later.
I
Maybe I
don't
can
know
help.
why.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's weird.
where's Wadu's face, man? I want to see his face. All I see is store.
There we go.
There it is, baby.
There we
Hey,
go. I like
I
it.
should have a couple more clients on here, man. They're gonna get in trouble next week.
Hey,
There.
no pressure here. This is for those who want
Oh
it,
no,
right?
man, this is pain. Pain. They don't do what I
Okay.
say.
So last week we had brought welcome everyone. Oh, you know what? This might be the wrong slideshow. Hold on. Oh no, I'm just at the wrong place. There we go. So last week Rich had mentioned something about let's talk about the holidays. And so I thought what's going on? Sorry, hold on. Let's cover the holidays this week instead of our normal lesson that I was kind of preparing sequentially. So we're going to start.
Hey,
We're going
Carly,
to interrupt this
don't use big words like that. I don't know what they mean.
sequentially in order. You
Okay.
do too.
Wadu, did I make you laugh, Wadu?
That's not a big word.
Yep.
Okay, anyways, I thought this is kind of the content for tomorrow's live stream, but I thought hopefully with a lively discussion with us, it'll be a totally different presentation than me and Matt and Shelby talking about it. So let's remember you can keep your camera off, all that jazz. Take your name off if you don't want us recording that information. This is that funny part where it goes blank. Okay, so ask questions along the way, and we're going to talk about how to thrive through the holidays with insulin smart eating. That's the goal, is not to survive, but to thrive, right? So the topics we'll cover today, we're going to talk about food's role in life celebrations, and then kind of like how do you get into the right mindset and have the right expectations for the holidays. We're going to talk about a plan, which shouldn't be much different than everyday life, but often we make allowances for this time of year. And so I think it's helpful to kind of revisit that. And then we're going to give you some tips and tricks on how to get through it. And I'll show you my holiday menu. So first of all, I just wanted to bring up this idea that food is very communal. Here's some pictures as we get to the next slideshow, but I just thought in art, you often see people communing or celebrating with food. And when I first started this journey, I thought I kind of wanted to get away from that. Like food's role was for survival. And I thought maybe we shouldn't use it as a celebratory means. We shouldn't use it as a way to commune and to gather with people. Why does everything have to be around food? Why can't we just gather and not have food there? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that's our, not just our culture, but it's our nature, that the things that nourish us are often pleasurable or should be pleasurable. That's kind of how we're hardwired. So on a very instinctual level, food should bring us pleasure. Sleep should bring us pleasure. Sex should even bring us pleasure. So these things, all that nourish us, should also be pleasurable. And I don't think we have to get away from that. But I think one of the things we have to ask ourselves, and this is where I think it can cross the line, is does food just satisfy me in the moment, or does it leave me feeling satisfied and nourished? The reason we have to ask ourselves that question is because our food system has been infiltrated with a drug that we call carbohydrates. This packaged carbohydrate has infiltrated our food system. So now we have to figure out, are the things we're eating nourishing to us, or do they only satisfy in the moment, and do they leave us feeling not satisfied? That's what drugs do. They feel good in the
Carly,
moment and then they're bad.
Carly,
Rich.
it's interesting you talk about family time. When I was growing up, and those that are LDS, it was very important, listen, in my family's culture, that we meet at night and we, commune around the dinner table together. And, back, 40 years ago, obesity was not even an issue. Well, now that we're not gathering anymore at all around the dinner table, we're more obese than ever. And so I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that we commune around the table. Like you said, it is, we're snacking, we're eating out, we're not really connecting around the table anymore. And I remember my parents, my mother, if I ate between meals, she'd slap me. And
Isn't that interesting?
That was a no-no. You never ate between meals.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Rich.
Yeah.
Good point.
Carly, that's accurate. Like you said, I think what Rich is saying, I agree with, just from the point of, I think when families sat around the table and ate, it was good food. Mom cooked, it was, fairly decent food. Even if it had carbs in it, it was still, home base, where now we're all running and going. And like Rich just said, if you ate in between, you kind of got in trouble. It was like, no, you had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was the whole 3 meal of the day thing, which we know is not relevant at this point. But I do think that if we got back to eating around the table, people would not have the obesity problem, the nation that we have.
Yeah.
And I think too that so much is focused on convenience, and media and advertising is all about, oh, let's make it more convenient and let's make it quick, and you got to run here and you got to run there, and everything's about convenience and making your life easier. And that's easy to fall into when you have such a full life. And what is your life full of? Is it full of good, rewarding things like your question was here? Or is it full of things that are, what are you filling your life with? So convenience is marketed all over the place.
It's
That's
so
such
true.
a great point, right?
So true. And I think one of the tricks kind of to get you through the holidays is to ask yourself, as you go for a food, is this going to leave me with a long lasting sense of well-being? Is this going to leave me feeling good? Or is this only going to taste good in the moment? And then is it going to leave me with something bad? Am I going to feel the heartburn or the inability to sleep or the sugar crash? All those things that we can get from carbohydrates. How's the food going to leave you feeling? So back to the golden circle from last week, we can apply this to the holidays. As you go into the holidays, what motivates you? Remember your why as you go into this season. How are you going to navigate those parties and family meals and the neighborhood treats that show up on your doorstep or a break room full of goodies? Everybody's temptations this time of year are going to be a little bit different. So think about the things in your past or that are coming in your future, and come up with be thoughtful about them before they get here. How do you want to navigate those neighborhood treats? Are you just going to throw them in the garbage? Are you going to re-gift them? I mean, what are you going to do with them? If you let them sit on the counter, they're just going to become a temptation. And then will you thrive, survive, or be set back by the holidays? What is January 2nd going to look like for you? Are you going to have regrets and wish that you had navigated this differently, or are you going to feel confident in the way you dealt with the holidays? So first of all, I think we start with a plan. And like I said, this shouldn't be any different than your everyday life. But because it's the holidays, we often come up with just different expectations or different rules for ourselves than we do in everyday life. Do you guys feel like that? Do you feel like you make excuses or change your reasoning, the way you think about the holidays? How are you guys feeling about the holidays right now?
I mean, Carly, even as a coach, I find myself telling my clients to go ahead and cheat.
Rich,
I'm
come
thinking,
on.
what the heck?
Okay, so I think that's a really good topic. I think going into the holidays doesn't have to look the same for each one of us. And I think you really have to ask yourself, to me, there can be beauty in cheats, if you want to call it that. There can be almost a necessity for that if in your current life, the way you're eating, if you're feeling deprived, there has to be moments where you give yourself a little leeway and you let yourself indulge a little bit. If you don't want to be so stuck in that deprivation that eventually you revert and go haywire with food. So I think there can be some wisdom in those cheats, Rich. I think, but it's different for everybody. If you were telling an alcoholic, it's okay to drink a little alcohol at the holidays, that would not be okay, right? We
Right.
all recognize that there's a problem there.
Right. And Carly, I tell my clients all the time that this journey is really not about food. We're really talking about our behavior. And I love what you said last week about saying yes to things instead of saying no. I choose to set boundaries around what I want to do this holiday because I'm going to choose my health. I'm going to choose my self-care. And this is my choice here. I'm going to say yes to this. I think in fact, I've said that to every client I've seen since then. And they look at me like, gosh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me to say yes to things instead of saying no, because it's so negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you feel
And-
deprived.
And our brains really can't handle much of that. So eventually our brains are going to have to shift something. We're so meant to survive. And so yeah, I love that from Josh, his idea.
Yeah.
I think so, like I said, I think going in with clear expectations of what you want, first of all, remembering your why can be helpful. Let me share the screen again. But if you go into the holidays saying, no, I'm on a trajectory to lose weight and get to, having my insulin controlled, maybe you don't want to have too many holiday experiences that are out of your current norm. But if you're saying this is a long-term lifestyle, I'm willing to allow a little, slowdown in my progress so that I can enjoy the holidays and not be too stressed. I think you really have to set your own expectations and your own boundaries. The cool thing about having boundaries is that they're so liberating. I remember as a teenager, my mom trying to teach me this principle, and I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. That boundaries or rules actually set you free. But I see it now with food. When I have a boundary around food, let's say this holiday season, I'm going to go into it with the boundary. I'm not going to taste anything unless I want 3 bites or less. So I'm going to allow myself a little indulgence at Thanksgiving with the stuffing and the rolls, because those are the 2 things that matter to me. Let's say I don't really like stuffing, but let's say those are my 2 things. I'm going to allow myself 3 bites. And if I already know that going into it and I'm convicted to stick with that, then it gets rid of that conversation that, you know, that little good witch and the bad witch or whatever that's on your shoulders. It helps to liberate your mind from too much confusion and conversation. So I think that's kind of the how is, let's give you some tips and tricks, and then let's help you navigate setting your own boundaries, because we all need different boundaries.
Yeah, you know,
Right?
it's interesting. You know, it's interesting, Carly. I remember when I was in high school, my mother and father sitting me down and talking about alcohol use, and you know, as a member of the LDS faith, you know, it was told, you know, these concepts were told to me in church about not drinking alcohol, but they would, you know, they say, hey, son, you need to set boundaries around when you go to these parties, you know, because all my football buddies were there and I'd go to these parties. Said, you have to set that boundary. I had no clue what they were talking about. For me, it was almost like a game because everybody wanted me to drink. And so I'm not going to drink. I'm going to show them. But
Yeah.
now that I realized that setting these boundaries were so important in all aspects of my life, because I mean, back then it was more of a, hey, you know, I'm not going to drink just because I knew they wanted me to drink. If they didn't want me to drink, I probably would have drank. But since all my friends were Catholic and they all drank, sorry, Catholics, but I, you know, I didn't know what that boundary was, but now I have a better feel for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who's got their hand up? Heidi?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
There
You-
we go.
okay. Are we going to do this hand tag again?
Whatever you want. Oh yeah. Sorry.
I'm just thinking about being careful or being aware of trading your obsessive thoughts or like a whole bunch of thinking about food in the bad way with obsessing about food in the good way. The behavior is still there. So it's important to be careful, like you're talking about boundaries and things. If you're always obsessed about food and worried about, you know, like in the old days, all the carbs, all the standard American diet, you're always thinking about food all the time and what you're going to have next or this or that, you know. But moving to this side, and I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but
No, I see totally.
if your behavior is still so worried about every single thing, how much progress are we making? Are we just switching one for the other? So these boundaries and these whys and these things can free you from that trap or that, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I
Yeah.
hope so. In my head, it sounds really clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. Carrie, you have something to say about that.
Yes, to go along with that, I think she's 100% correct. The more we think about it, the more obsessed we become with it, and the harder it is to, you know, deal with those and work through those emotions. Something that I've had done and worked with my clients is, okay, if I need that stuff, you know, let's do a chocolate donut. If I want a chocolate donut, whether it be in an hour, then I'm gonna have, if it be on Sunday, I'm gonna have it. Kind of give yourself permission, but for a later date. Most of the time when you get there, you're okay. Just by allowing yourself that permission, it kind of frees you up saying, oh, I still get to choose. And most of the time, by the time we get there, you've already changed your mind and you're okay. It's just in that moment that we become obsessed with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important for some people. For some people, it doesn't work, and you give them freedom and all of a sudden they just want it all. That's kind of me.
Well, Carly, I don't know if anybody else has struggled with this, but the other day, Carson and I went to a place to eat, and I think a hamburger joint. I had a lettuce wrap burger, and he had his regular burger, and he only ate like half of it. I sat there and stared at that thing for like a half an hour wanting to eat it because I paid for it. And like I had to like stop myself. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm a freak. I said, I'm like, Carson, you're gonna eat that? I'm like, I almost wanted to eat it because it was just sitting there, and I paid for it. It was just terrible.
And were you hungry?
No, of course not.
Okay.
But I just wanted to eat
That-
it anyways.
It's
just
one of
didn't
those
wanna-
hangups when we were told as kids, eat what's on your plate because there's starving kids in Africa. You really have to change your paradigm
Yep.
and realize there might be starving kids in Africa, but you know, making my insulin spike is how going to help those children. So,
Yep.
you know, or eating the burger is not going to change what you paid on your credit card, Rich. It's the same
Yep.
either way. So don't let your insulin struggle just because you don't want to waste food. I commend you for your desire to not waste food. Wrap it up and take it to the neighborhood chickens or something. I don't know.
I don't live in
The
rural
chickens,
Boise,
you're not
man.
that in your backyard,
Hey, you should be allowed to have chickens. That's why I didn't say
Actually, my
pigs,
neighbor
'cause I
has
know you didn't have
chickens.
neighborhood pigs.
My neighbor
Have them all
has
in your
chickens.
backyard.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. I really think going back to kind of setting yourself up for a good holiday season, I really think it's important for us to kind of figure out what place we're in and how much we can handle. Like I said, like you're never going to suggest some alcoholic to enjoy a few sips in the holidays. If you're a true carb addict and carbohydrates or processed carbohydrates, whatever, trigger you to have bad behavior, then maybe the goal really is abstinence completely. I think that is a definite possibility. And if that's the case, then mindset has got to be everything for you. Changing your focus, rewording the way you talk to yourself, just like Rich brought up, you know, learning how to say yes. It's just what are we saying yes to? Learning how to stay in a positive place, finding replacements so that when everybody else, you know, have all your friends have brought their pies to the pie party, you're sipping on your Creole brew or something that tastes yummy and is a replacement for you. I think replacements can be another one of those keys. But really, as you're going into the holidays, kind of deciding how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling and how do you want to kind of approach the holidays this season is a really important question because it will be a little bit different for everybody, I think. And it depends on where you are in your journey.
And Carly, one of the things that my clients, especially my new clients, have asked me is the pressure they feel as they go to these family events of people looking at them that they're different and they're eating differently and they feel bad because they don't want them to feel bad. And so, you know, how do they deal with that?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think Carrie has something. You want to speak on that, Carrie? Carrie.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
good.
for each situation, whether it be a holiday and each person, where we are at that time and where our mindset is obviously helps. We may breeze through one holiday, do fine, and then another one, you know, we slip up on. But I've had a couple of my clients just lately, I kind of start talking to them about the holidays right around Halloween and just start saying, okay, what are our plans? Where's your mindset? What are you wanting? And it's just something that we go over each week to make sure where they are and then kind of help make adjustments where they are. One of my clients came in last week crying because her sister-in-law at the very first outing was mocking her for not eating and just kind of say, oh, so now you're on a diet. And she didn't know how to handle it. So we just talked it through and said, no, I'm on an insulin IQ program to help me with my individual insulin. And I had said to her, tell her, you wouldn't be bothering me if I was an alcoholic and stopped drinking. And she said, oh, that will help so much. And so it's just kind of thinking those things through because we don't know where we are going to be as each of those events pop up. So planning ahead, like you're talking about, and thinking it through and kind of having your mind kind of made up before you go, it will help it be easier.
Yeah. I think also we tend to think we don't want to ruffle people's feathers and we don't want to offend people in a situation. And so we tell ourselves, it's nice of me to eat what they're giving me. It's loving of me to eat what they're sharing with me. And there are situations I think where that really is how you have to handle it. But for the most part, it's not nice and loving to allow someone to do something to us that's hurtful to us. When we talk about loving, you have to not just love those around you, but love yourself as well. That's part of the equation of love. And so I think most people, first of all, need some help with their insulin too. And so if you're allowing them to create bad behavior in you, it's not loving to anybody. So I think one of the tactics for me, like I went on a cruise and I told the waitress that came to us every night, I need to eat like a diabetic because I'm not really diabetic and I didn't want to lie. So I just said, I need to eat like a diabetic. So explaining to people, you could even use like, I'm a sugar addict and I'm trying to quit. Or you could say, you know, I have problems with my insulin and I'm trying to learn how to control that. But often when you categorize yourself that way, like if somebody had an allergy, you would never feel bad about them not eating the pie that you brought if they're allergic to pecans, right? You just wouldn't. So sometimes, you know, setting yourself aside in that way can be helpful. But then also, I think sometimes it takes a hard conversation. If this is somebody who you're having these chronic situations with, like a mother or a sister who's constantly trying to feed you the foods that you don't want, I think sometimes it can take a hard conversation where you sit down and you say, look, this isn't good for me and this is hurting our relationship and I need you to support me. And sometimes when you just call people out like that, they'll rise up to the equation when you ask for what you need. So Jen and then Heidi.
Hey, Jake made it too.
And
So-
Jake. Hi, Jake.
Jake, what's up, brother?
We were just saying, like, that is so sad. We've felt so supportive. I don't think I can think of one experience where family members or friends have been anything but just rooting us on. Like, what, you're coming over for dinner, what can we make for you? What do you need? So that just makes me really sad and would be challenging. But we are this is kind of our big holiday. I mean, we had Halloween, but this is kind of our first big, I don't know, meal. And we're still, I just feel like in this deprivation mode where I'm like, look, if we had to live like this forever, we couldn't do this. Like, we're not eating any fruits, we're not eating nuts. Like, we are to our 2 meals only, trying not to snack. Like, we are trying to be so perfect. And there's just been little tiny things, like maybe 4 or 5 things, like just throughout this whole like 4 or 5 months. So going into this, I think it's good. Like you've been saying, have a plan. And I think our plan is, especially this guy, he's like, I am going to have my pumpkin pie and I'm going to have some actual mashed potatoes, not cauliflower mashed potatoes.
Because they're gross.
And so for us, we've been like, we are going to be so good until that meal. And after that meal, we're going to be so good that week. And we're out of town from Wednesday to Sunday. We're with family, with a big group, and we're a little nervous, but I think that's what we've kind of pre-planned is we're going to allow ourselves that meal. And if we want some stuffing or rolls, we're going to do it. And it's okay. And I have to tell myself, Rich has to tell me, like, it's okay if we have that one meal. So I think that's going to be our hard time. But right now we're just in this, we can't do anything. And so it is kind of hard to be like, okay, wait, maybe it's okay to do some things that we're doing most of the things really good most of the time.
And the goal here really should be, you're trying to keep your insulin low for the majority of life. Not every moment, not every day, not every meal. But if you keep your insulin low for the majority of your life and allow a spike now and again, those spikes aren't going to sabotage you. So the trick is learning how to let yourself have that spike and not have it continue for a day or a week or a month or a year. And if that does happen, to recognize it's okay, you can start again and get back at it. So to me, everybody who knows me gets sick of hearing this from me because I'm like a broken record. But what works for me in those situations is my goal after a meal like that is to get back into my fasting routine, whatever that currently is. It's usually I eat 2 meals a day. So my goal is how can I get back into my fasting routine the quickest and the best? Because fasting is the fastest way to lower your insulin and get your appetite back under control, which is really the goal after a meal like that. You're going to spike your insulin, you're going to lower your ketones, and your appetite, your cravings might come back somewhat. So as you're thinking after the meal, one of the things that helps me is to set that boundary that I'm not going to go outside of my fasting routine, but when I am fasting, I'm going to allow myself this little trick that will help me, and that is drink fat, which I typically don't suggest you do. But when you're trying to lower your insulin quickly and you're trying to kind of have a fast that doesn't trigger you to go for the cookies on the counter or, the holiday bread that your neighbor brought over, having a little fat during your fast will actually curb your appetite, calm those hunger cravings down, and will allow your brain to feel like you're still fasting and get back into it. So like some broth with a little bit of butter or tea with a little bit of coconut oil, those kind of things can calm your appetite down while still keeping you in that fasting routine. So that's one of my favorite things to adopt. Just hydrating well even will help. But if you feel really hungry and you feel like maybe this hunger is going to trigger you to eat or to choose the choices you don't want to be choosing, then a little bit of fat can help. So good for you. Have that meal. And my other tip would be eat the things that matter to you. When I first had my first Thanksgiving and I had the same outlook as you, I'm going to eat whatever I want for this one meal, I ate stuff that doesn't matter to me. And I'm like, I caught myself as I'm eating going, why am I eating this? Just because I can? Like, this is stupid. This doesn't even taste good to me. So I focus on the things that matter, like a roll, That's just my opinion.
Also, just mindful eating on a whole. Like you say, taste it. If you like it, eat it. If it makes you
Yeah.
happy, eat it. If it doesn't taste good, don't feel like you have to eat it.
Yeah.
Well, and Carla, I know you probably can talk about this later, but there's so many foods at Thanksgiving that you can have. Like a couple of my clients asked about sweet potatoes. I said, sure, have a sweet potato. Just don't put brown sugar all over it. Put some butter and some cinnamon on it, and you'll be fine.
No marshmallows on our sweet potatoes?
No, you never put marshmallow on sweet potatoes.
No brown sugar.
Orange juice.
We go savory.
There we go. Okay, I'm going to give you a few little tips and tricks. So the first one, we talked kind of already about boundaries and how liberating they are. Come up with the boundaries for you, whatever that is. If you open those floodgates, you're currently kind of inside this, boundary, the way you're eating right now. If you open those gates up and you don't set some new boundary, you're basically free to go wide and far, however far away from your current way of eating as you want. And that can be hard and triggering to stay out there outside of your boundaries. So set a new boundary around this experience. That could mean a time frame, like I'm eating just this one meal and then I'm back on track. That could mean like the 3-bite rule, number 2. That's another type of boundary that's helpful. Have 3 bites of the things that you feel will leave you feeling satisfied rather than deprived, and leave alone the things that don't matter to you. Offer to bring a dish when you're going to a party. I think this isn't really a holiday tip. It's more of an everyday tip. Anytime you go somewhere, if you're worried about what they're going to be serving, offer to bring a dish. I'll always, my go-to is a Caesar salad because it's super easy and I can pick off the croutons for myself and I can fill my plate with it so that I can, put small amounts of the things that I shouldn't be eating that might offend the host if I'm not putting on my plate. But for the most part, I can get a lot of the Caesar salad in. So offer to bring something if you're worried that there won't be enough for you. It looks like I messed up on that slide. So fasting, use fasting as a tool, as long as this doesn't trigger you. We don't want like the binge and purge feel here. So if you start to get that feeling when you fast, or you have any history of eating disorders, this can be a tricky one, and I wouldn't suggest using it. But for most of us, it works great. So if you're going to eat a little bit more on Thanksgiving, fast a little bit longer. Decide that you're going to do OMAD, or 1 meal a day for that day, and let yourself have a little bit more on at the dinner, and then, you know, have a longer fasting period. Stay well hydrated. This actually is huge, and we don't give it enough credit. We don't put enough of our energy into staying well hydrated, and it can really help. It can really change your appetite. Same with electrolytes. If you're struggling to do your fasting, increase your electrolytes, and that can often really help. Something warm often can help settle your stomach too as you're fasting. So I'm a big proponent of warm drinks. Maybe not hot drinks, but warm drinks. Add exercise. So on Thanksgiving, go for a walk with your family, or play a football game in the morning. Learn how to enjoy the outdoors. To me, we are so disconnected from nature, and I see that as a big part of why we're so diseased. The more you can get out into nature and into sunshine, the better you will feel. I've never had anybody told me anything opposite. I've never had anybody say, I tried that and it didn't work. So make it a priority. Shelby, did you have a comment?
Okay, hi, yeah, I was just gonna add to the exercise part. Since you're all
Please.
members at Elevate, we are actually at 7 and 8 a.m. Sorry, I have kids in my house.
Hi, Mabel.
But at 7 and 8 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, we have a free workout for anybody that wants to join. So if you're available that morning, come and join our classes that morning.
They're so fun. They're so fun.
You
I
won't be
love
able to
those
walk the
holiday
rest of the day,
classes.
but that's okay.
It's not true, you guys. It's not true. Come join our class on Thanksgiving morning.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and thanks. Just pipe up if I can't see your hand. I saw Shelby's that time, but I'm not sure if I always will. Remember to celebrate your successes. We don't want this to be such a harsh and negative lifestyle that you can't sustain it. So it's okay if things don't go perfect. And often those times that things don't go perfect can be the greatest lessons to learn. So reflect on your past experiences. How have they gone? Recognize the shifts in relationship to food. Like I said, my first Thanksgiving, I went hog wild and crazy, which now I don't feel the need to as much. So celebrate where you are succeeding, and be okay with learning the lessons that need to be learned. And then, shift your perspective. You guys, most of you have heard this too, but my dad used to always say the way to get rich quick is to change your expectations. Or the way to get rich overnight is to change your expectations. Perspective is everything. So as you go into the holidays, remember what the season is about. It's not about gluttony. And it doesn't have to be that way. So try and shift your perspective a little. And then when January 2nd rolls around, how do you want to look back and see your holiday season having gone? Did you make healthy choices that kept you going, or do you feel like you're starting over? As we go into the holiday season, do you want to have to start over January 2nd, or do you want to feel like you thrived during the holidays? So those are just some thoughts. And then here's our holiday menu, Rich. Just what you
Yeah.
wanted.
Oh, that cheddar
on our
stuffing looks awesome.
Tomorrow on our Facebook page, I'm going to have a holiday guide, which you're all clients at Elevate, so you probably already have gotten this. But I'm going to have it on our Facebook page with links to a lot of the recipes. So if you want to access that tomorrow, you'll be able to. But my favorite holiday treat is, I've shared it with some of you. If you were at Elevate the day before Thanksgiving in the previous years. Is it on here? No, it's not on this list. Cranberry salsa. So that's on the
Oh,
Facebook
yes.
recipes, and there's a picture on the printout that's at
It is
Elevate.
so great.
It is so good. And
So great.
and just like you're saying, Jen, you haven't had any fruit. Pumpkin pie, you can actually make low carb. Pumpkin pie or pumpkins are naturally fairly low carb. So sometimes finding a replacement can be another good method too. This
There's
cranberry
no
salsa.
replacement for pumpkin pie.
Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have said
No,
that.
you just said the one thing. If
Yeah,
you-
don't trigger Jake, man.
I'm a treat person. He's like a meat person. But if you ask him what his favorite food is, he'll say
Pumpkin
pumpkin pie.
All
Like
right.
that's what he
Okay.
wants. His last meal.
Okay,
That's what I
just
would
don't
say.
mess with it then, huh?
If I eat nothing but rocks and sticks that day, I'll have a
And
piece of
and
pumpkin
he
pie.
makes it.
There you
And he,
Oh, good
So-
for you. That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Good for you. Larita, how are you feeling about the holidays? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, that's the reader
Good, how
right
are
there, man. I
you?
didn't reckon she's out like in
Yeah.
the darkness.
I'm sitting in the dark with my hat on.
That's awesome.
I'm feeling good about the holidays. I've been making that no-bake chocolate cookie or cake. You made that no-bake chocolate cake from Diet Doctor that has the
Oh,
pumpkin
let's hear
seed.
it.
It's got pumpkin seeds and hazelnuts on it, and it's just cream and then chocolate that's sweetened with monk fruit. Well, that's my go-to right
That's
now because
delicious.
Awesome.
It-
No bake
it is
chocolate
just-
cake.
delightful, and it's on Diet Doctor. And I'm gonna make a low carb pumpkin pie. I'm
Don't-
gonna try one.
Good.
See if I can
That's
get a good
awesome.
one going here because I love pumpkin pie also.
Oh yeah.
My other really good the other thing is their apple vanilla cream recipe. I'm gonna do that in place of apple pie because I love apple pie. And they
Okay.
have you use those granny, what is it? The green
Granny
one?
Smith.
Granny Smith. And then you just make this delightful vanilla cream that you put over the apples and you just get a few slices, but that's going to be my
That sounds
apple pie
delicious.
replacement.
I
That
love
we've
it.
made, my husband and I go to that one quite often. We love that one.
So
Cool.
Carly, where would the recipes be on?
Well, tomorrow on Facebook, I'm going to put up our holiday guide and there'll be links to all the recipes on there.
Okay.
So you could go to Diet Doctor yourself and find any of these, or if you're lazy like me, just click on the link tomorrow on Facebook.
Sweet.
So how are you guys feeling about the holidays? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Do you feel like you got this under control? What are your thoughts? Jen, you already kind of shared your feelings. Are you feeling any better after tonight?
I think I'm nervous, but I think we can do it. I think we can do it.
Oh,
This
they
is a
can do
big
it.
part. This is a big part about making it a lifestyle to me, is learning how to do this. And if you can avoid it, stick your head in the sand for a while, and that's helpful for a while. But eventually you have to learn how to navigate these kind of things
think-
to not feel deprived.
Figure out how to say one cookie or 3 bites, like you said. I think I'm just kind of an all or nothing person. And so that is what I get to work on.
Yeah.
And Jen,
Yeah.
that will change too, as you keep going through it. You'll find that how you feel now may not be how you feel next year. And
Yeah.
the things that you like now, that you don't like now, you may find you like later. So always keep that open mind, and it has to be a lifestyle change. Otherwise, it's just another diet that we know where diets end up. So it's more about the lifestyle. And like Rich is always preaching, as I say, it has to be the lifestyle. We have to commit to it. We have to want it. And we have to have that desire to want to follow through to make ourselves healthier. And it's just getting that mindset, and everything else will fall into place. It will.
Heidi. Thanks, Carrie.
For the past couple months, well, before now, I've been kind of mentally stuck. I've been at a really big point that I want to make some big changes, but I just got mentally stuck. and no progress on the scale or anything like that. Yes, other progress, clothes, appetite, sleeping, all of that progress, but you know, the fun stuff to track, it just kind of got stuck for a while. And I just kind of got mad at myself a little bit, you know, like, all right, it's time to get serious kind of a thing. I knew the holidays were coming up and I just needed a plan. And like we've been talking about, so it was 6 weeks out and I put 6 things down that I wanted to achieve. And so I wrote those out. I gave Rich a copy and I'm like,
Nice.
this is what I'm going to do before this 6 weeks is over. And it's got room for variety and fluctuation a little bit. So one of the things on there is I want to complete a 24-hour fast. I want to do a 36-hour fast. So I have those kind of things. If I put my glasses on, I stuck it up here on the wall by my thing. Don't weigh at home for the next 6 weeks. Move 5 days a week, whatever you're going to do. And then on weekends, I go do fun stuff like country dancing and West Coast swing. And it's so fun. And I'm like a teenager. I get home at 2 a.m. and it is so
That's
fun.
awesome.
So I'm, you know, and then how many times am I going to be on a support group like this, you know? So I've set these goals and you can do anything for 6 weeks, right? And these are probably the toughest 6 weeks, probably for some people, you know, and in other ways, it's tough for other things. I see a travel trip coming up this weekend and I need to figure out, like, I'm going to be on the road for 6 and 7 hours each day. And what am I going to do? Not pull into a drive-through in Pocatello and just get something, you know, I've got to have a plan. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do. And then earlier we were talking about a lot of things we've been saying is we know this big dinner's coming up and this big plan. A lot of times in my life lately, I've had kind of surprise, like we'll be out doing something. Well, let's go to dinner. I'll buy you dinner. Or somebody said, can you come over for dinner this afternoon? And I know it's not going to be a good thing. And I don't want to be in that awkward situation. But I have always, always, always found support from people when you say, oh, I'm in the middle of a fast right now. I'm fasting right now. Everyone is always so supportive. Oh, well, that's great. You know, we'll catch you another time. So that's one thing that I've always been able to use without hurting feelings or anything. People always really understand about if you're fasting. So
Yeah,
I just want to
that's
throw
cool.
that one out too. So maybe
That's
for
good.
the Friday, come back and eat leftovers opportunity, you might want to use that. I don't know. Because leftovers
like
are
it.
the best, right?
That's right. That's right. I love it. I think anytime you can help someone else understand where you're coming from, you're
Mhm.
going to see a better response. And yeah, Jen, your comment earlier about that's so sad that people are the hang up for a lot of us. It is sad. And I think it's often not so much a reflection of us and what we're doing, but you have to recognize that when people feel triggered, you know, you're kind of a mirror to them. So if you're fixing your life and you're controlling your life, they might feel triggered or bad that they're not doing the same thing. And so trying to keep that clarity between you and them and help them to see this is my thing and you don't have to make it your thing, you know, I think can be important.
And
So
Carly, it's interesting because I don't think Jim would mind if I said this, but I kept on warning them, hey,
let's
this is
hope
coming.
not.
Your family and friends are going to come at you and they're going to, they're going to, they're going to, and they just supported them. And what a great opportunity to validate that friendship you have with other people that are helping you, because it is a blessing to have people that are really interested in your well-being and not trying to sabotage, not sabotage on purpose, but typically that's what happens. People want you to be miserable like they are. And to have people that love and care about you is amazing. That helps
Yeah.
support you.
We're all just a little bit metabolically sick, aren't we? Almost all of us. And so when someone else is taking control of that, it can be scary for us, you know, to watch somebody else improve and we're feeling like we're getting left behind. So we just have to be patient and I think educate people in that situation, help them to see and to understand so it's easier for them as well as for you, for sure. So Carrie, how's your holidays gonna go?
Hey, real quick, before
Yeah.
Carrie answers, are these being recorded?
Yeah, but they're not being saved unless we go in and download them somewhere.
How do we do that? Can we do that, or
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can do it.
that'd be great? Because I'd love to have these all linked up at Elevate somewhere where classes just come back to Elevate and click on them.
Yeah, if you have the capacity to store a lot of content there.
Okay, I'll talk to
can do
Ali
it.
about that because that'd be
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't feel any pressure, but we're going to record these and send them out to everybody. So.
Always the jokester.
So are you ready for the holidays, Carrie?
I am ready. Just, it gets easier the longer you do it, I think. And just planning things out, like you said, taking something is important. I was just thinking as we've, talked about this whole time, and whether you're being supportive or you're afraid what the neighbors or the friends or the sister or the brother are going to say. I just had my daughter text me a couple of days ago, say, Mom, my son-in-law cannot have any gluten anymore. So how can you help us? And we just automatically went through the menu and made sure that he had things that he could eat, because most of what we're having is stuff that he can't eat. And we didn't think a thing about it, where, like you were saying earlier, hey, I just need to eat like I'm a diabetic, or you know what, my insulin's really high. So we don't think about it when anyone else says it. So just preparing and putting yourself, for me, just to be mindful of it and to really think about what I'm eating and to have things there so that everyone has options. So just preparing for that. And yes, I am gonna probably try to make pumpkin pie like Loretta, and Jake, you enjoy yours for the rest of us.
There you go. Thanks, Carrie. Wadu, you've been quiet today. Do you have anything to add before we wrap it up?
No, I just like to listen to everyone and get the ideas. I was just thinking maybe we should have a Zoom meeting while we're on the table.
Can
Whenever
we
I can
all
point
plan
to-
our meals at the same time?
Put it down,
There
put
you
it
go.
down. But no, I just appreciate everyone, all the ideas they have and using that.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
fun to collaborate. You put a bunch of heads together and you usually get something good. So that's awesome.
I think Waru might be onto something. Zoom eating. We can just watch.
Oh.
Good idea, Waru.
That's funny. Okay, well, I hope you guys feel a little better equipped to enter the holiday season. Watch for the link tomorrow with some good recipes, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks, Carly. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Have a great
Bye.
night.